a brief overview of my involvement with Chicago Tap Theater. I've been involved for over 6 years now. I first got involved with CTT. I met Mark, our artistic director, at a tap intensive in North Carolina, which is where I'm from, and I was in college at the time, and he said, you know, if you ever want to intern with a tap company, let me know. So I jumped right on that. And the summer after my sophomore year, I came to Chicago, interned with CTT, and absolutely fell in love with the company and the city. And so after graduating, came back and auditioned for the company. I started as an apprentice and company manager, and now in my 6th season with the company, and I'm a full company member and rehearsal director and director of operations and community engagement. So a gig that started as an internship is now my full-time job, which is really awesome. And as far as the Chicago dance scene in general, you know, CTT has been my main involvement, but I've loved getting to perform in cabaret and burlesque spaces like the Newport Theater, and bringing tap dance into those variety shows has been really fun. I also tap dance with my band that I co-founded called Them Queers, and so I'm tap dance as the percussion, and that's brought some really cool connections to the music scene as well as the dance scene. It's cool to get to kind of live in both of those spaces. And I teach a lot of dance, so I've met a lot of dancers through different studios all around the city and suburbs too.
Nice. This is not part of the questions. Where in North Carolina?
Charlotte is where I'm originally from, but now most of my family's in the Triangle area.
Cool. Yeah, my family has a lot of connections to the Asheville performing area.
Love that. Oh, Asheville's incredible. My sister did her undergrad there, so
Oh, nice.
yeah.
What was your motivation for putting on tonight's panel, and why this format?
Yeah, my motivation for tonight's panel was I really just wanted to create an event that was for the queer community and for the queer dance community specifically. So I had done an event with my band at Gerber Hart before, and knew that this was a really cool and welcoming space. So got connected with them, and yeah, I just wanted, I feel like you can say so much with dance, but there is so much to say about queerness in dance that I wanted an opportunity for queer dance makers to be able to actually talk about all the things that we do and go through and all of that as well.
Nice. So then you kind of already answered another question, but what is your involvement with the Gerber Hart Library?
Yeah, my involvement with Gerber Hart Library, I first got involved a little over a year ago. My bandmate Nathan Kissler actually introduced me. They had been a fan of the archives here and brought me, and just thought it was so cool. I had no idea that there was a queer archive in Chicago, but of course there is. And so came in, found all the really cool research, and then we ended up doing a band concert here. And yeah, they were just so welcoming and helpful, and I've actually, a lot of the research that's going into the next Chicago Tap Theater show, Can You Hear Us Now, comes from books and collections that I found at Gerber Hart.
Nice. How do you feel today's program fulfills the need for greater recognition of queer perspectives in tap?
Excuse me. Today's panel fulfills the need for greater representation of queer perspectives in tap dance by bringing those dancers to the forefront. Me and Davon Scuttles, one of our other panelists, are both queer tap dancers, and yeah, I think just giving a voice in a specific space for that, and making it a free and open to all event where anyone can come and listen and ask questions is just really important. That was important to me because, of course, the show, you have to buy a ticket, but I wanted to provide something that was just for the community and really accessible as well. And Yeah, I think that there's a lot that we are doing with tap history, but also it's so important to talk about what's happening in queerness and tap dance right now. So.
And so many stories just get lost to time.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you go about choosing these panelists?
So these panelists, they're my friends, they're my pals. There are, of course, just endless queer dancers to choose from in Chicago, and actually got a lot of recommendations of new cool contacts that I got to connect with by starting doing this panel. So yeah, I reached out to folks. I wanted to have another queer tap dancer represented, and from someone outside of CTT as well, so that they would have different experiences and perspectives to bring. So that's why I thought of Davon. They're also a guest artist in this upcoming show, so a natural fit. And then for Dawn, I have been a really big fan of their production company, Genderfucked, which has just kind of exploded onto the Chicago dance scene over the last couple of years. So I think it's really, really cool what they're doing, and I thought that their perspective would be really interesting because they touch so many different spaces and different types of queer Chicago dance.
Do you plan to hold more events like this? And if so, talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I would love to hold more events like this. I think Chicago Tap Theater is doing more and more in the Rogers Park community in particular. We're really investing in that. And also doing more in the queer community. The more I'm involved with CTT, the more we do there. And yeah, as part of my title as Director of Community Engagement, it's important to me to connect with both of those communities. So yeah, I think I'd love to do more performances, more talkbacks, all that kind of stuff would be awesome.
Is there anything else that you want to get into the record?
I don't think so. Did I do okay?
Great, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. Thank you so much, Jen and Gerber, Hart, for having us today. It's just incredible to get to be a part of the community, and this space is so important to me and to so many. So definitely check out Gerber's events coming up, and check out the archives if you haven't yet, and get involved with all the fun things they have going on. And thank you all for being here. So great to gather the tap community, dance community, queer community. Happy to have you all here. One last thank you to Chicago Tap Theater for being here and for making this event possible. One quick note, we do have Chicago Dance History Project here filming this event. Super, super cool that their organization is invested in capturing and archiving stories like these. So we appreciate CBHP, and just know that the cameras are pointed this way, but you may get caught in a shot or something like that. Signs around letting you know. And this event, the first things that you're going to see today are two dances that are previews. They're still in progress. We're in our rehearsal process for Chicago Tap Theater's next main stage show, which is called Can You Hear Us Now? The Queer Tap Dance Revolution. That's what all our stuff is. It's going to be June 20th through the 23rd, just down the road at the Edge Theater in Edgewater. So we hope that you'll join us there. Tickets start at $35, but come see us. We never want price to be a reason that someone can't attend a show. So hope that you can join us next month. All right, we're going to jump into our performances. This first piece was choreographed by me. I'm Molly. Hi, everybody. I'll talk more about myself later. And Sterling Harris, who is our Artistic Associate of Chicago Tap Theater. This piece is working title called Bonita Pits. It is an homage and an ode to a tap dancer from our history who's very near and dear to us.
throughout the process of Can You Hear Us Now, a lot of what this show is queer tap history. And through our research, we found there is not a lot. And so that is part of why this project was so important to me, is to capture the stories of tap dancers who are and were out and queer, but also to take the context of people who were doing things outside the norm and put that into the modern context of what that means for us today. So Juanita is a person that was personally an inspiration to Sterling and I for the different ways that she broke and challenged binary assumptions about gender and race, and especially within the performance of tap dance. So yeah, we're excited to present this, and this is a great example of all of the research that has gone into this project. A lot of that research happens here in Gerber Hart's archives. So without further ado, this is Juanita Pitts. We have one more piece to show you that is also from Can You Hear Us Now? One of the things that is really special about this show and about this process is that we gave the opportunity for any dancer in Chicago Tap Theater to compose a piece and have it performed in this show, depending on however those show themes. Whatever that meant to them and how that connected. So, thank you for bearing with me as I breathe very deeply. This next piece, I'm really excited to get to share with you. It's this dancer's first time choreographing with Chicago Tap Theater, and I was just blown away by the piece that she created and the rhythms, and it's a really cool piece. This represents some of the more modern day queer community that we also want to represent in the show. And this next piece, Butterfly, is about an exploration of identity and questioning and finding community. It explores how we're all on individual journeys, but the joy that we find when those journeys intertwine. So this is Butterfly. screen. You can get your tickets now available. And just imagine how much cooler all that will be with costumes and tech and a full-size stage and after another month of rehearsal. Yes. So we hope you'll join us. We are going to now transition into our panel discussion. We are so excited to have these dancers next to me here to chat with us about all things tap and dance and queerness in Chicago. So I'm going to introduce them now really quickly. We have Heilung.
Yeah.
Got it. Amazing. Their pronouns are they or any. Dawn is a performer, producer, and lately spaghetti noodle. Dawn has been dancing for 15 years and has trained in numerous movement styles like viewpoints, Straussman, Perfect Lips, and Gaga. They've choreographed for multiple musicals like The Addams Family and Early Modern Millie, and danced in queer dance freakouts, since its inception in Texas in 2018. Dawn studied dance and musical theater at the Northeast School of the Arts and graduated with a BFA in acting from Texas State University. Go Bobcats. In Chicago, they have been at Talia Hall, the Den Theater, Steppenwolf, and the High Hall. They've had their choreo featured in performances of Chicago Dancemakers Forum and the Fly Honeys. And Dawn is the founder and artistic director of Gender Correct Productions, a trans and media queer arts and film production nonprofit based here in Chicago. Give it up for Dawn. Davon Scuttles. Their pronouns are they and me. Davon is an emerging artist in Chicago who grew up studying and performing American tap dance and keen sense of rhythms youth tap ensemble. Davon is also an actor and an alumnus of the St. Paul Conservatory for Performing Artists and Columbia College Chicago Musical Theater Program. In 2019, Davon received the Cultural Community Partnership Grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board for their first self-produced work, Melanized, a multimedia tap dance show about living as a person of color. This show addressed macro and microaggressions towards people of color as well as showcased the beauty of living as a citizen. Davon is a cast member of Stone Soup Rhythms under Danny Borat and has performed with the Chicago Children's Theater Company in Shrek and Bear, a pop opera. They have also performed in 42nd Street at Druid Lane and choreographed by Robbie and performer Jared Grimes. And currently Davon is dancing with Mad Rhythms, a nonprofit tap company based on the south side of Chicago, whose mission is to preserve, promote, and contribute to this art form called tap. Give it up for And I'm such a fan of Davon's that they are also performing as a guest artist in Can You Hear Us Now with Chicago's Tap Theater. So excited to chat with them today, and then hopefully next month we'll get to see them dance as well. And once again, my name is Molly. I'm Molly Smith. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm a dancer choreographer. I'm a dancer choreographer, teacher, and arts administrator. And I currently serve as rehearsal director, company member, and director of operations and community engagement for Chicago's Theater. Your background and how you came to dance in Chicago?
We gotta wait for the mic to warm up. Hello! As Molly said, hi, I'm Davon. I moved here in 2014 after graduating from SVCPA and did the musical theater program at Columbia. And then from there, I danced with CDT for a little bit, and then I danced with a different organization, and then now I'm dancing with those who know. And now I dance with Mad Rhythms, and I'm also the resident choreographer for Keen Sense of Rhythm, and then I have my own sort of like little, my own little ditty daddy, we're gonna call it that. My own little ditty daddy, Mela, which is Marginalized Excellence, Love, and Adoration, which is my little company.
Hi, I'm Don. Nice to meet y'all. And I don't have a ton extra to add. I just love queer and trans dance in Chicago, and I view my role as a choreographer and dancer often, but I view my role often as weaving. So finding really cool people and pointing them towards my friends so they can all dance with each other.
Love that. Amazing. What are some of your biggest joys in your dance making practice, especially as it relates to your grades?
I'm holding the mic. I'll go first, I guess. So I really love being able to zest in, be a part of, and promote like a culture of abundance within art making. We live in this country, in this city, and there is often a top-down problem with not enough funding for arts, right? So a lot of people I know move to Chicago with hopes to like start their artistic and creative career and face that issue of wanting and being booked even for like part-time or full-time work as a performer, but not being able to pay their bills that way. So my joy is getting to see my friends booked, getting to see my friends make the work they really want to make. And particularly in Chicago, I think there's an easier space than like in LA or New York for people to produce and make their own works. And seeing a lot of my friends make full length and things that they never thought they could, but this city wants to embrace and hold. Yeah, and also just seeing queer and trans people get older, manifesting a lot of us being elders in the future. Do you want to go? Do you want to go?
Yeah, okay. So what was the question? One more time.
What are your biggest joys in your dance making practice?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that. The best part about being in charge, being the head honcho, as some would say, is getting to hire who the fuck I want to. Like I get to pick my friends, the people that I know are super talented, and they're gonna be a joy to work with. They're gonna be hardworking. I get to also they'll introduce me to other artists that I don't know. And then I get to meet them and collaborate with them. So, it's just like making my own little community for that time period that we are together is just so powerful and so inspiring, especially when, I came from a world of theater, growing up doing regional theater and then doing regional theater here as well. It's not very much like that, you're with a whole random group of people and you just really don't know who these bitches are, but you just still gotta suck it up and work with them anyways, because you gotta do it for that paycheck, you're trying to get the check at the end of the week. But when you're in charge, it's nice when you get to actually have your own community, your own little group of people, you have your own little inside jokes and all that. All that is the best vibe for me. Yeah, period.
Yeah, 100%. I echo all of that. I think three of my biggest core values are community, authenticity, and art. And my dance making process brings together all three of those. The community that I have with CTT is just unmatched, and getting to show up as my authentic self is the hugest joy. It's the best. And to your point, Don, yesterday was LGBTQ Elders Day, so a little happy belated.
Yay!
Yes. Amazing. Getting a little more specific into things, how does your presentation and expression show up in your dance performance?
You go.
Me?
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
Okay.
I'm hard of hearing, so I'm trying to also hear the words.
I got you, yes. How does your presentation and expression show up in your dance and performance?
Yeah, okay, my dance performance. I kind of always have been the type of person to do whatever I want to. Even Megan's nodding her head. Megan's known me since I was 14. I've just always been that, that person that's always felt very comfortable with myself. I grew up in a company where my dance teacher is a lesbian, so our whole company was just, it was very easy for me to come out and be out, especially with the company and also being at my school. So I guess, it's been very easy for me to express myself fully. A lot of my work is not surrounded, but what is the word I'm thinking of? Is conceptualized around my own experiences in my life and my journey. I've explored, I have a piece called Green Eyes where I explore just relationships in general, my journey through relationships from being, thinking I was monogamous, going into poly relationships and exploring a lot of things through tap dance and, and also the staging, like you go duets, trios, quads, and so you play with all that, and tap dance is such a communicative art form, that's how it came to be. So you really speak through it, sha, shikutu, ba, da, sha, shikutu, ba, ba, ba. It's very different than shuka, ba, dum, shiga, dum, sha, dum, da, dum. The energy is completely different. So, that is also just so nice to be able to express that. So, just playing with a little bit of femininity in tap dance, playing a little bit more with the heavy hitting, it's nice to get to explore really like both sides of things. Did that answer that question?
Yeah.
I feel like that was tangent as fuck.
No.
Yeah, period.
For me, especially, so Queer Dance Freakout is an interactive dance company. We also do a lot of stuff where we expand the idea of what dance can mean, especially as a company of mainly trans non-binary folks. From particular experience, my friend Megan is also here, who I did a duet with in November, and a lot of my practice is in lifting, body partnering kind of work in dance. And with that, I'm very tall. If I stand up and I have heels on, I'm 6'8". So people don't throw me in the air that often. I'm usually the people catching people and throwing them in the air. And through a lot of my dance practice recently and being able to open myself up to that, I've been the one thrown. Megan throws me in the air all the time. And I think that's a really cool part of my expression coming through dance is breaking down the norms of what we think dancers can or are allowed to do. I was raised in a really, really traditional model that was like a lot of people that wanted to be Rockettes and kick their face and do the splits. And being raised as like a male dancer, I was not taught how to do those things. I was taught to like put my hands in the back. As a person training in tap dance when I was a kid, very different training from that they teach women and femme dancers. So I love expanding that, breaking that down, and letting people see our dance and be like, I didn't know people in these bodies could do these things. I think the other thing that I love in my expression, my gender, my identity in dance is just sharing queer and trans joy on stage. That piece we just saw with 3 people, incredible. I love people smiling at each other. I love people being present on stage and not acting like there's a wall between us and our other people. I've done a lot of diving into my work recently in queer history and also in like history of dance. And like humans don't dance on a big stage with a bunch of lights with a bunch of people they pretend aren't there. Like human dance is in circles with each other, around each other. There's not as large of a line between the audience and the people that are there. And particularly thinking about like a lot of like queer dance histories, like with like Vogue and things like that. Like that's like ciphers. That's like working with people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Absolutely. So many thoughts coming from what both of you said. I think that's so interesting, and I think I see that so much, especially in Queer Dance Freakout's work and in tap dance. Just it's so much breaking down that barrier between the audience and what's happening on stage, and that really speaks to my experience as well. I think I've been on a big journey of expression. People who are longtime fans of CPT will know that it was very different when I joined the company. I think just like having the space to explore all of that, and I have a quote that another queer rhythm dancer, Nick Gerber, said. They define queer as a mobilization of resistance to the normative. And I think that just to me connected, and I was like, ooh, that's tap dance, right? Like tap dance is resisting the norm, and it doesn't come, it's not the Broadway dance you're always seeing, it's not what's on TV all of the time. So I found this, for me, this definition of tap dance as inherently queer, because we're already, by existing and showing up, breaking these expectations. Cool. Thanks, y'all. Lovely. Getting a little more local and specific to Chicago, what are some ways that you think the Chicago dance scene could do better for queer and trans dance makers and dancers?
I could talk about that first. I also started Genderfuck Productions. We're a 501c3 centered on working with and uplifting, creating more platforms for queer, trans, non-binary artists in Chicago. So I'm writing grants every day. I spent like 3 hours writing grants today and making videos for those things. I think that money is a baseline of making it so artists can live and make the work that we do. When artists are funded and artists are paid well enough to pay their bills, I think people are able to make really, really cool things. I think that's a baseline, but I think Chicago does that in some really cool ways. I talk about dance chants all the time. If you don't know what dance chants is, show up. They pull 3 names out of a hat and give $4,500 to whoever's there of those 3 names to make a really cool. $4,500. Yeah.
I thought when did they start paying?
It was $100. I did it last year and it was $100. They just got a grant that changed it, so now they have $4,500 for all the people that do it.
Y'all trying to dance?
May 20th, be there.
Yeah,
So Chicago, I feel like, is getting more attention nationally. Things are changing here in some ways, but I think that there's always more to do. I also view it housing crisis in America. Lots of people can't buy middle-level homes, right? People can buy really expensive homes. People who already have homes can buy more expensive homes. Artist crisis to me is there are big grants. I'm applying to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 grants for the dance we're trying to make, and I can get those grants if I've been around for 5 years. What does it take to be around for 5 years? Thousands of dollars. Thousands of hours of volunteer work to make those things happen, to make jobs for me and my friends. So to me, like, the way that Chicago needs to step up is make those first homes for people. Make the grants that make it so that artists can do the work they need to put on the resume to get the $30,000 grant. Because if there's not a spectrum of the art to support a spectrum of the artists that are in Chicago that are queer and trans, all of us can't do that work. And the last little piece I'd say too is there's a different part of the queer and trans artistic experience of being disconnected for a lot of us from the families that we grew up with. So if you grew up in a dance practice like with your family or with your friends, and then you have to move to Chicago to be safe to access healthcare, you may not have the connections that other folks have to be able to get those resources too.
Yeah, and going off of that, obviously funding is such a big thing, but also I think if these bigger companies that have bigger names can start taking these smaller companies under their wing so that you can apply for grants under them as their fiscal sponsors and stuff like that. I think that's also going to be a big help for these upstarting companies that are starting to pop up nowadays. I can't really think of anything else other than that.
Yeah, Donna's super eloquent. Absolutely. The only thing I'll add is I teach a lot of dance, and so just bringing it back to like where it starts for a lot of dancers and the education piece. I think there's so many opportunities to break down gender barriers and expectations from those classes from a really young age. I teach at Insight Dance Center in Skokie, and they're doing a ton of work to make dance their slogan is Dance for All. And it's a really just welcoming and inclusive space for all the dancers that get to show up there. So I think more dance studios could invest in learning how to make their spaces more inclusive to dancers of all genders and expressions and all of that. Right. What are some things that you both incorporate into your dance making practice in order to make it an inclusive space for queer folks, whether that be audience members, students, performers, choreographers, production staff, anybody you're interacting with?
Oh, I got something for that. I'm very specific when I partner with an organization to produce a show. I tell them that you are not allowed to give any of my performers notes. Anything that you want to say about the show comes through me. And also, I really don't want to hear your opinion on what I'm doing, to be honest. Unless it's something very specific, mind your business. This is not for you. This is my show, this is my art, and the story that I'm telling is through my lens. So I'm going to say it however I want to say it, period. You can say what you want to say, but the truth of the fact is, I probably don't want to hear it, so just keep that to yourself. But yeah, that's one of my big things.
Love, and big fan of that. I think artist autonomy is so important. A thing I would touch on would be consent. One of the 4 major values of Queer Dance Freakout for our company is consent, and I think that makes it so that when thinking about costumes people have to wear that feel gender affirming, thinking about moves and styles of ways that people dance that don't feel comfortable. I think that is the easiest way because it's no one size fit all. It's a size that fits best for that person. We also do that for audience members and such too, because I think making work that can be challenging can be really triggering or intense for people. So love letting people kind of know, like, you're about to get into something really intense and these may be some content warnings. Similar with like interactive work, consent is a big baseline of that. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all are both great models for both of those things, I think. Yeah, so if you're not already fans of these two, please check out their work. They're both incredible. Yeah, and I think something we do is just like asking people for their pronouns, or just like, you know, offering that at first, not even before you even ask, like when you introduce yourself to walk into the theater, you know, technical directors there, hi, I'm Molly, my pronouns are they, them. And that's something CTT has been doing more and more, and it's something that makes me feel safer when I walk into a space and like, oh, we know, we're aware. We're not making assumptions, because almost every space I walk into, it's misgendered immediately, just based on assumptions. So just something as little as that, and never like requiring people to share anything they don't want to, but just offering that, I think, is a really easy and quick way to open that up. Lovely. What are some misconceptions that you think people have about the dance world as it relates to queerness?
I had some thoughts on this. So I, again, was raised in a really, really traditional dance environment, and came from like semi-rural Texas. And so many people, when I started getting to dance, were like, that's some gay shit. They're like, that's where the fags go. And I was like, yeah, for sure. But also, it's not uplifted or talked about in a lot of predominant dance spaces. Like queer people do flock to dance. Queer people do flock to theater, but it's not often like the thing we're having a conversation about. I think also too is that like if queerness is brought up in a dance space, it can be sometimes in a way that is more stereotypical and not trying to tell a real story. It's like, this is an identity, or this is a coming out story, rather than like letting somebody give their fullness of their story too.
I'm gonna let you go first, Molly, because I'm thinking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just to piggyback off of Dawn, that's part of the inspiration for Can You Hear Us Now is, just wanting to create that space and to have the actual conversation that we so often don't have in dance and in tap dance specifically. I feel like a lot of folks feel their identities are separated from the art, and for me personally, it's not. My queerness is so inherently linked to all the art that I make and to my identity as a tap dancer. So yeah, I wanted to make something that represented that. Coming back to misconceptions that people have, I think people think that queer people are really fragile, and I think it's not about that so often. It's just like about basic human respect and decency.
Yeah. Respect, period.
Yeah. So that's what I would say.
Say the question one more time.
Yes. What are misconceptions that you see people having about the dance world as it relates to queerness?
As it relates to queerness, the dance world I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't think I have an answer for that. I'm not sure. I've not thought about that before.
It's an
It's a
interesting
doozy.
question for me to think about too.
I could throw one more in there, which is that like it's about like sexuality. I think this is more of my own artistic practice too, but I like seeing queer and trans people being sexy on stage. I don't think that happens often enough. And if you come see queer dance freak out, that will happen. People will be
Yes.
grinding on stage. You'll be like, are they making out? You can decide.
Yes, love that.
Period.
Absolutely. Amazing.
workshop festival event this winter. What was that? What was that like? Yeah.
So it's funny that you said a quote by Nick, because Nick is the one who heads that.
Yes.
So he's a close friend. But it's an amazing event. So this started last year. We went to Vermont, like in the boondocks, like Buttfuck Mountain, Vermont. Gorgeous in the winters, like right after New Year's. We just spend 3 days like dancing, like just everyone leads their own class, their own course. There's jams and stuff. There's musicians, a lot of the people from like the Shandos community and the what else? What is the other one? I learned so many terminology. I was like, I know so many things, but now I forgot because I'm nervous. But no, it's such a cool event, and then like they're so open with about like the funding and like what they can help with. Like my first year they flew me out. I didn't have to pay for anything. That includes food and the stay and everything. Like it was so amazing. And then this year no one had ended up having to pay anything. So like it's just such a cool experience getting to meet all these percussive dancers from around all the world, not even just the U.S., because we had some people come from Europe this year, and just all queer dancers who study percussive dance and perform percussive dance on all different levels. It's not even just professionals. It's not just the top of the tops. It's like literally everybody. Like people are just like, oh yeah, I just grew up Irish dancing, so like I came to this. And it's like, that's dope. Yeah, period. And you're cutting up, shake it up, don't shake it up, don't shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, don't. Cutting up, they doing their shit. So yeah, it was dope. It's a dope experience. I highly recommend. And fund us. Fund us. Period.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I find more and more I'm less interested between the division of professional dancers versus like recreational dancers. I think there's so much value in anyone who's interested in dance in any way. Cool. Thanks for sharing that, Davon. Dawn, you run a queer dance organization, as you have talked about. What is it like to get to create that space for your community and produce queer events?
Yes, it is very cool. Off of what you were just saying too, love breaking down the barrier between amateur and like professional dancers, because I feel like that's just to make people not believe they can make work, that they could do what others are doing and get into practice again. There's a cool thing on Instagram I saw where it was like a quote of, "Isn't it so sad that we made people believe that art is something to be put on stage and not just something we do, like eating and breathing and communicating with each other?" And I believe art to be something like that. What's it like doing gay dance stuff? Really fun. The queer dance world is so small. And I think that in Chicago, segregation is high key all over the city. So I find that in genre-specific dance, like worlds can be very separated. It's hard to get around the city. I write that in all my grant proposals too, when they're like, "What do you need for space?" I'm like, "Give us somewhere that we can all get to, so that we don't have to bust around from side to side, take 3 bus transfers to get to rehearsal." I think it's also just a joy. It feels like the longer I'm here, the more I'm ingrained into this beautiful fabric weave of queer and trans dancers and artists and creators. And the more any binary of artistic style and genre and years of doing the work are like not important nor real or even clearly divided. It makes me happy that most of my weekends in Chicago are filled with going to see my friends work and getting to see them do the things that they love on stage. And I think my other favorite part is the tea. Because I love seeing, like, knowing other queer and trans dancers in the community, and we always talk, and they're like, they will not use your pronouns. They are homophobic, but they're really great. They don't pay well, but they're also really nice, right? Like, it's really fun to just hear all the tea and the feedback from community too, and getting to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's so important. I feel like just for safety, baseline, as well as just for fun and all of that too.
The other thing I was going to say was on education that you were talking about before. The more I do this, and the more we don't have funding, God willing, one day. We have our first grant this summer, which is really exciting. We're doing Night Out in the Parks. We mentioned you in our interview, which was really cool, because we talked about them queers and you, and they're like, "We love them." And I was like, we love it. But the more I do this too, the more I feel like the booster that a lot of queer and trans people need to come back into it is more classes like the ones you're teaching for queer and trans youth, but also adults. I have met so many people doing the work with Genderfuck that we do that are like, I used to do opera, I used to sing, I used to tap dance, and then people misgendered me, they asked me to do things I was not comfortable for who I am, and I had to leave, and it's been 10 years, but I want to go back and do it again. And those classes need to be sliding scale too. I think that's the complex part because teachers need to be paid and organizations need to be funded, but like, you know, a lot of the queer and trans people that I know in the community don't have $30 a week to go to class, so being able to make those classes inclusive and make them happen. Our first dance class we did with Genderfucked was called the Yassification of Ballet. We had so many people just crying when they were like, I didn't know ballet could be so gay.
Incredible. Oh, I love that. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Yeah. Man, would you, either of you, like to shout out any other queer dancers or dance makers or organizations in Chicago that are maybe not here tonight, but that you're also big fans of?
I took little notes because I was like, I need to remember this. Erin Kilmurray, who runs the Fly Honeys, is a really badass queer dance maker, has made a lot of space for some really badass trans choreographers and creators in the city, and also has featured us as a guest artist, which is really cool. Really cool in conversation with them because they've mainly just had that conversation of like, I've just been around the block a few more times. Like, give it 13 years and you'll probably be where I am. And that, I think, matters a lot. I was gonna say you, Molly, and them queers. I love projects that, again, break boundaries with what genres of art are. And the first time I saw you perform with Nate, I was like, oh my God, incredible. Exactly what I was thinking. Also, Rafa Stiletto is doing really cool work that's taking the heels dance world and bringing it to a very queer lens and gender nonconforming lens, and has like a whole troupe of like hundreds of dancers with him. And then Ashand is also a really cool dancer, runs Such Creatures, a really great and wonderful company that really is also genre blending and blurring between circus art, storytelling, punk ass shit, which is really gay, and I love that.
I'm gonna say this. Whoever wants to be shouted out, I know somewhere is Instagram Live, hit me up and I will post them on my story. Because I don't know who feels comfortable being shouted out for something, for that specifically.
Yeah, bring it back to the consent.
Right.
I love
Exactly,
that.
consent.
100%. Yeah, I was going to say Ashand as well. You had so many great Chicago dancers. And I wanted to shout out also Trans Voices Cabaret and We Are Collective, which are also under the Genderfucked umbrella. Two really great other organizations that are creating cool queer art as well. Yeah, it's out there. So there's community and we can come together. Yeah. Wonderful. Before we open it up to any audience questions, is there anything else that either of you want to share about your experience or anything like that? Anything we missed?
I feel good.
Wonderful. Audience, thanks for listening to us chat about all the things. Do you have questions for us about dance, about queerness in dance, anything about projects we have coming up? Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing more about some of these classes because I danced for 10 years and then I quit when I was 12 because I started feeling really uncomfortable wearing pants. I kind of started feeling like I wasn't like the other girls. And like it's been a long time since I danced and I like totally forgot about that part of like what I did and things I did. Watching the tap dance, I was like, man, I missed that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear about some of these opportunities.
100%. Yes, so at Insight Dance Center, currently they don't have an adult tap class, sadly, but they do have adult hip hop and ballet, and they're always changing up the schedule, so they've got lots of things. The director there, Caitlin Webster, is another amazing queer dance maker in Chicago, and yeah, they're doing really great things. So definitely recommend Insight. They're running classes year round, all that good stuff. Chicago Tap Theater, also, I just started teaching classes at Loyola Park, just down the road. And we have, it's It's on the slides if you catch it, come by. On Tuesday nights, we have an adult, it's open to all levels, beginner focused. Tap us, there it is right there. Our next session is starting in July, and we're really excited to partner through the Parks District in this way. And yeah, come tap dance with us. It'll be fun. Sweet. Yeah, thanks for asking.
I'm coming to that class. Also, Genderfucked, all of our stuff is posted on our website and also on our Instagram. We Are Collective runs a lot of regular classes. If you know someone that wants to fund sliding scale classes for trans and queer people, let me know so we can do more of those. Other places in the community I think are really great to dance at. Textured Dance Studio, they got a Groupon for like a 10 class pass that's not very expensive. And all of the teachers there that I've worked with are queer and trans. They do house, they do Vogue, they do a lot of really cool stuff. Trans Dance Connect. If you haven't heard of it, it's a cool program that was just launched with Synapse Arts through one of our Queer Dance Freakout company members, Rain Drop. They do it as a space for any level people centered on modern dance, but for trans dancers specifically to connect with each other and create a stronger weave and fabric in our community.
Yes.
Get it.
Also, next weekend,
Okay.
Chicago Tap All-Stars
Let's go.
will be having classes for National Tap Dance Day down at the Harold Washington Cultural Center all weekend. So come on down, put shoes on, come tap dance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be teaching there too. As will Sterling in the back, who dances with me.
And Mark.
And Mark.
And Megan,
Oh my
right?
gosh, and Megan.
So
Yeah.
many tap
We get to
dancers.
see so many queer people and great tap dancers.
Do you have to have tap shoes to come to those classes?
We have shoes at the building.
Oh my god.
So.
Great.
Amazing, yes. Thank you both for those. Any other questions?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
I am like so pleased to be here and like see you as examples for young people because I remember when I was dancing originally like this boy was amazing and he quit dancing and like I haven't danced in 20 some years. I'll be 50 in January and I'm gonna be in my first tap dance recital on Sunday.
Yes.
So I'm just really excited to like see all of these opportunities for all different. So thank you for being here.
Congratulations. I hope it's a lot more to say. Fantastic. Yeah.
Can you talk about your inspiration behind in your
Yes, so many things. One of the major inspirations was I'm a big fan of tap dancer Aida Sal. She's the best. And she has done so much work bringing women in tap dance to the forefront and making sure that this history of people like Juanita Pitts, who that piece earlier was inspired by, now we're writing our stories and now we're saying their names and keeping them in the conversation. And I thought that was so incredible and so important. And then I also thought, wait a second, why aren't we also having this conversation and doing this work for queer dancers? Where am I in this history? And so, yeah, it's kind of creating and finding all of that. And I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to explore all of that from CTT and our, yeah, it's going to be a really cool show. And my sister is music directing, was a trans jazz artist. It's going to be really fun. Got a lot going on. Then Queer's my band. One of our songs is going to be in the show, the pronoun song.
Yes.
They're going to sing. Yeah, there's going to be a lot. It'll be fun. Thanks. Other questions? Anything else? Yes, more.
So this is actually something surprising I don't know 100% about, but what prompted Queer Dance Freakout to start and how did it end up in Chicago?
What started Queer? Okay, Queer Dance Freakout was started from a protest movement. When the trans bills were being passed like across the nation, me and some organizers went to the Capitol in Texas and got a bunch of trans people naked, and we danced outside of the governor's house for like hours till the police took us out. Yeah, that was fun. The bill didn't pass. I guess that might have worked in some way. There were other things happening too, but that was one of our actions. So I talked to some like organizers, and I was like, what if I use this name for my dance project? And my drag mom, Cheetah Daniels Kennedy, she ran the local bar called Stonewall Warehouse. Rest in peace. It's dead like a lot of gay bars in this country. She was like, we have a stage if you want to just like produce a dance show here. So I got some of my friends that I knew. I was like a vulture. I went to 3 other dance companies for a season, and then I found the queer people. And I said, what if we make a company? And they're like, okay. So kind of started it from there and did a lot of stuff that may be considered dance and may not be considered dance. There was definitely making out in our first show that we had. Kind of worked from there. It came to Chicago because I came to Chicago. I talk a lot in our grant writing and the work that Genderfuck does about the like mass wave of Gen Z and younger people that are trans right now that are fleeing to places like Chicago. But I'm kind of one of those people. I didn't have to flee in the same way that a lot of other folks did, but like the art making I was making was not well welcomed there. And me as a person was not well welcomed there either. So I came to Chicago to try to find a better home for that. And I just hope that Queer Dance Freak Out can exist for lots of decades past this, so queer and trans dancers can show up and be like, oh, I look like the person on that stage, and I can do that too.
Yes.
Another question. Do we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more? Everyone's done. Everyone's done. All right, panelists, tell us where we can find you and your work.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Davon Scuttles, not Scuttles, Scuttles.
Scuttles.
SUTTLES Davon Scuttles is my Instagram. Or you can also find my organization, Mela.tap. I believe that's what it is. Something like that. Something like that. And what was the other question? Was that it?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Great. I am just Genderfucked. You can find genderfucked.org. Our Instagram is gender_fucked_productions. If you want to find me, I'm at Dawn Phenomenon on Instagram. And the next place we're going to be is at Midsommar Fest. Genderfucked Productions is collaborating with the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce to make a non-binary stage at Midsommar Fest. So all weekend on Summerdale stage, there will be trans and non-binary artists from across the city. We're also working with the Chicago Therapy Collective, Queer Dance Freak Out, and Trans Voices Cabaret will be performing. It's free. It's $10 to enter the fest. It's free if you can't afford it. Come in. So that's the next time we'll be performing. It's Saturday, June 8th at 7 p.m. Thank you. Moore's my co-producer. Thank you.
Amazing. Wonderful. Please find them. Please follow them. Please come to all their things.
Yeah, what about you?
Oh,
Okay.
I teach in this class at Loyola Park. Chicago's Happy. It has 10 years now. Coming up next month. We also will be in Roger Park all summer. We've got a bunch of community events coming up. We follow us on Instagram at Chicago's Happy Theater. You'll find all of that. We also will be at Fish the Little Oktoberfest. Yes, and we'll be at Shaw Howard Street in August. We're all out in the community this summer, so come hang with us. Outside. Amazing. Before we all go, I want to say an incredibly large thank you to Don and Davon. Can we give it up for that? Absolutely. Just joy and honor to have you both here. Thank you to CTT, and especially to our dancers who performed earlier. And thank you to Gerber, Hart for having us here. Please remember to donate to their Hart, to Chicago Tap Theater, to Genderfuck, to all the things. Buy your tickets to dancemakers now, so you can make more stuff like this. Thanks for showing up.
Can we hear it from Molly for putting this all together?